Now, the owner of a flat in Cardiff Bay says he feels robbed after selling it for £50,000 less than it was worth because of issues with its cladding. Lee Faulkner decided it was better to take the hit because of uncertainty over government help. Well, campaigners have been increasingly frustrated by how long it's taking to fund repairs. A Welsh Government fund for surveys which will establish what repairs a building with cladding requires opens today. Morning, Lee.
Good morning, Claire.
I mean, £50,000, it's an awful lot of money to lose. Was it a tough decision to make?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. Myself and my wife have worked hard over our lives, and we'd we'd accumulated a good amount of savings, and part of our plan for the future was, the sale of the flat to help buy a house. So to actually realise that loss was hard. We were fortunate we could make that decision, which many people can't. But nevertheless, it was still a very painful decision.
And you sold it by auction to a company. I mean, people who own flats with similar cladding won't thank me for this question, but why would anyone buy a flat like this right now?
Well, I think for an investment company who bought our flat, it's an opportunity. I don't hold any grudge against them. They're just making the most of a bad situation. They're not looking at 1 or 2 years. They're not thinking of family. They're just renting it out. So they're really the only people who would buy a flat at the moment. That's for sure. Do
you think it would have been impossible to sell it to normal buyers?
There may be 1 or 2 who could see that, if it was like a single person, they were for the long term. But I think most people would look at it and tend to want to shy away because of the unknowns. The service charges alone, as they stand, are like having a mortgage anyway.
Yeah. I mean, of course, all of this post-Grenfell and the tragedy there. I mean, one thing to lose the money, but, did you ever feel safe living in the building after seeing what happened at Grenfell?
My wife had more of a safety concern than I did. She was, she worried about the fact that of the cladding and the risks. For her, living in the flat was more of an issue safety-wise than it was for me. But yeah, it's always at the back of your mind.
And in terms of what Welsh Government has done, has it been enough to offer a resolution to this?
I couldn't even tell you what the Welsh Government have done. All I've heard is talk. I just read an article this morning about now they're opening up to have surveys done to see what the costs are. I can't believe we're just looking at surveys at this stage, and I know that the Welsh Government say it's a hugely complex issue, but there's been money put forward previously by the UK government, and there's more money. I know they're trying to get their share of that money, but it's just taken so long. And there's still, when they agree the funding, how long is it going to take? It could run on for several more years, in my view.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what they say, that the Welsh Government was asked, why now at the stage of the fund was happening now, why so late? The Housing Minister, Julie James, said what you referred to, it's fiendishly complicated. She said it's nothing to do with how desperate we are to get people themselves out of this situation, but she says we need to get it right. We need not to make a mess of it, and we need to make sure we are funding the right things. What do you make of that?
If this was a year and a half after Grenfell, I could say yeah, but it's nearly 4 years now. There are government face complicated issues every day. But I just think the momentum and the impetus to resolve this has not been there. And I think most people who own these flats, people who are still living in Victoria Wharf who don't have the choice to move, feel that it's this snail's pace that is, and this not knowing is really, the stress of the issue. If there was a plan out and there was a time frame, then people could probably say, right, they know when it's going to end, but nobody knows when it's going to end.
And Lee, you've managed to sell, but there are many people listening, still in these flats. I mean, have you managed to move on now?
Yeah. I try not to think about it too much. It's a big hit, but now we've got our new house. I'm busy working on that. So I I look at myself and just think of myself that I'm lucky that we could afford to make that choice. When I was made redundant, I had additional money, and we've managed to buy a house, and we're finished. But my heart goes out for those that are still trapped in a situation where they can't move, and they go to bed fearing for their safety every night.
Lee, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.